inspired you to create a documentary about perimenopause?
For me, it was going through that silent suffering myself for 2.5 months, not even knowing what I was going through, why I wasn't sleeping, the high anxiety, loss of self-confidence, and I just stopped feeling like myself. And so, as monks and also as filmmakers, it's like we always think and reflect like what's also happening out in the world. So if I'm feeling like this, if I'm feeling alone, if I'm feeling not prepared, imagine all the other women that are out there likely going through the same thing. And so, who knew that we would make a series on perimenopause? And as millennial monks, once we found out all of the injustices around, perimenopause and menopause and women's midlife health, we were like, this has to be a series. It can't be just a documentary. We need to cover all the things. And starting with the fact that doctors only get 1 hour of medical education on menopause when 100% of all women are going to go through it. And so to us, it was just an injustice. It's unfair that women are being mistreated, dismissed, not believed. It's things need to change because all of us are going through it. And I know you said it's not about you, but it is about you. It's about us. It's about all women.
How did your own experiences with perimenopause shape the storytelling and balance?
Well, as we were going through perimenopause, can you imagine like the brain fog and the forgetfulness and all the things? So it was so relatable. It's an authentic journey that we document of us going through it, but also asking all the questions that women are asking, and also interviewing women who have stories that are impactful and that, they share messages that can relate to all women as well. So it's it's an authentic both combination of creativity with documenting our journey. To add to Anubhuti's, I would say it's really the vulnerability that we're, sharing, and we wanted to add that level of relatability. And women want truth. They want raw stories. They want to feel, not alone. So being able to put ourselves on the big screen to show that. And as far as shaping the story, we wanted to attack it from all sides, right? Covering not just the education piece, but also calls to action and adding clarity, adding specific, because perimenopause and menopause is so big, it's like, how do you bring it all like with comprehensive knowledge, but in a storytelling way? And as filmmakers, we're storytellers because that's what connects to audiences. And so that was really important to us, not to just have interviews, but add humor, add emotions, create reactions, because it creates this like visceral experience for the viewers.
So, how did your spiritual practice influence the way you approached this deeply personal journey?
As Jain monks, the main principle that we follow and the core of everything that we do on our work is nonviolence. And so when you think about nonviolence, you don't think just guns and, like knives and these things. You have to think about the inner violence that happens within all of us. When women are going through perimenopause, there is a lot of pain and suffering that comes with that. And sometimes there is a lot of self-harm. When we look at statistics, this is the time period between 45 and 55 when women commit the most suicide. So there is a lot of suffering and pain and violence that is also happening. And there is so many other dimensions of violence that happens during this phase. And so when we think bigger numbers, there is nothing that affects women the most more than this transition. And so we wanted to make sure that as monks, we had that humanitarian spiritual lens as we documented the stories and put together the content for the series.
Yeah, that was a point in the docuseries that truly startled me, the suicide rate. I was shocked, right? I had never even heard of the term perimenopause until Halle Berry spoke about it maybe a year or so ago. I didn't even know this was a thing. And hormone replacement, I didn't even know that was a thing until I heard it mentioned in conversations around the trans community, right?
Sorry, I
So
just want to add to the nonviolence aspect. It is the suicides, but it's also families that are breaking because of this, marriages being dissolved, so it's a lot of harm that happens during this transition that we are hoping to prevent.
So here's the statement that was in the documentary. How can you find the right solution when everything online is confusing and contradictory? And that has been my journey, not knowing what to turn to, who to listen, what advice. My OBGYN recommended I go to a hormone specialist, and I couldn't even make an appointment until earlier this year. I can't even get in until this spring, and they want $500 just for me to walk through the door. And I'm like, I can't afford this, right? Why do you think perimenopause has been such a silent and stigmatized topic?
I think culturally, it's women are unfortunately looked at upon as less. And so they're not researched. They're not, it's, we live in a male dominated society. And so that needs to change. And I think with balance, getting loud, getting educated, getting empowered starts to show that women, you're not tied to your reproductive, transitions or life or stage because we all matter through all of this. And so, just not having the attention, the like policies, there's like just such a lack of support and lack of equality. And so that's why balance is so important to just highlight all of the injustices across the board and really bring a voice to this phase of our lives.
Do you think women going through menopause or perimenopause are better served by female OBGYNs, or is it more about the doctor's approach than gender?
Hmm.
Great
I
question.
wish I could tell you that yes, that it was just a male female issue, but the main issue is that all of the medical providers, when they go through medical school, they're all equally getting just 1 hour of medical menopause training in care and treatment. And so that is the core of the problem here. You know, women's health has been underfunded, under-researched for too long, and that needs to change as well. But education, starting with the medical professionals, need to change. And you're right about all the confusion. Where do we go? It's not a female or a male. It's like it's a cross, and that is the biggest problem that we have.
And how to make it affordable, right? Because it's so expensive to see a menopause specialist, but the reason they have to separate from the system is because in the medical system, you only get a 15-minute appointment with insurance. And so these doctors, to provide the right level of care, they need to separate, go into their own private practice to provide that level of service and the time involved. So fortunately, there are, telehealth companies that are popping up. We know of an app called Flourish, and they're offering hormone therapy AI consultations for $42. So this way they can make it accessible for all because not everybody can afford a $300, $500 appointment, nor have they're such in desperate times. They can't wait, till next year for their appointment. And so, fortunately, we're seeing these opportunities and possibilities come up to serve all women.
What advice would you give to women who are just beginning their perimenopause journey?
Yeah, go for
We'll
it.
have a combination.
Yeah.
You have probably your own. I would say education is number one. Be educated, and that will give you empowerment in itself. But where to start? That's the biggest problem, right? So going to a person that fully understands menopause, such as a menopause expert, is going to be key here. Because as I told you already before, all of the other doctors are not getting the training and the education, and they're not going to give you the solution that you need. And so, one, become educated on the topic, be informed, and two, seek medical help from an expert that knows specifically about menopause, perimenopause, and hormone therapy treatment.
I would say not to dismiss yourself, not to say suck it up and drive on. Have these conversations, talk to your girlfriends and share what are you going through because we say doctors dismiss us, but we dismiss ourselves. And so we need to trust our body. We need to listen to our body. Like, why am I, feeling anxious? Why am I feeling hot? Why am I feeling itchy all over? Like, what is this? And so that's why Balance, the docuseries, just really serves as a starting point, but it's a great starting point for one, you don't have to feel alone. Now you're prepared. Now you're aware of what perimenopause and menopause are all about, and you'll know what next steps you can choose from in your life.